So in this video, we're going to talk about simplifying algebraic expressions. So some terms that you need to know: constant, coefficient, variable. So a constant is any term, any piece that doesn't have a letter associated with it. For example, 5. Plus 5 would be a constant term or a constant. Coefficient is still a number, but the coefficient is the number in front of the variable. So for example, 2x, the 2 would be the coefficient, the x would be the variable. So it'll ask you identify the variable term and the constant term. Variable term means that it has a letter in it. Constant term means it has no letters, or it's just a constant number. So our first example, the directions on this would say to simplify the expression. So simplify means you have to combine like terms, CLT. Combine like terms. Like terms mean that they match in variable and exponent. They have to be identical. So a like term with negative 3xy would be 2xy. Now, to combine the like terms, you just do negative 3 plus 2, take the coefficients, which would give me negative 1xy. Keep the variables the same. I then keep moving. X squared, 5x squared, I don't see any other x squareds, so it's going to fall down. 4x, I don't see any other x terms, so it falls down. Same thing with minus 1. If it doesn't have a like term, it just falls down into the answer. Now with this, I'd never need to write a 1, so the final answer I would have is negative xy plus 5x squared plus 4x minus 1. That would be my final answer. Next one, still simplifying. Before I can start combining like terms, though, I have to distribute. So I'm going to distribute and then combine like terms. So I'm distributing a 2. 2x, 2 times 4 gives me 8. Distribute the next one. Negative 3, I have to distribute that whole thing. Negative 3x, negative 3 times negative 4 will give me positive 12. Now from here, I go to combine like terms. So your first step is distribute, second is combine like terms. 2x, negative 3x would give me negative 1x, but I don't need to write the 1. And then 8 plus 12 would give me positive 20. So my answer would be negative x plus 20. Next example, same thing, simplify. I've got a negative 4 out front, so the first thing I have to do is distribute. I have negative 4y squared. Negative 4 times 3 gives me negative 12y. Negative 4 times negative 1 gives me positive 4. Now, because this second part isn't in parentheses, it's just going to fall down. Now I'm looking for like terms. I have negative 4y squared, positive y squared, so that's going to be negative 4 plus 1, which will be negative 3y squared. Negative 12y doesn't have a like term, so it's just going to fall down. And then 4 and 8 will combine to give me 12. So my final answer is negative 3y squared minus 12y plus 12. Leave it like that. Final answer, or final example, evaluate for a equals 1, negative 1, and b equals 5. So that means where I see an a, I'm going to plug in a negative 1. And where I see a b, I'm going to plug in a 5. So a squared, well, a is negative 1 squared plus b, which is 5, all divided by 2 times a, which is negative 1. Now with the inserting a value into an equation, so I have a equals negative 1. When I insert negative 1, make sure you get in the habit of putting that in parentheses. Order of operations, need to do all my top, all my bottom, and then leave it as a fraction. So on top, I have -1 squared plus 5. Order of operations says to do your exponents first. -1 squared says -1 times -1. That will give me +1. Plus 5 is just going to fall down. On the bottom, 2 times -1 will give me -2. Now I'm going back to combine the top. 1 plus 5 will give me 6 divided by -2. 6 divided by -2, I always want to simplify my fractions, will give me -3, and that would be your final answer.